All right, so who, hands up, we'll see you ask, who wants to ask the first question. Okay, we'll go for you. Just go to the mic and...
A question for both of you, really, but separate questions. Firstly, for Tommy, I followed you for a long time, and I absolutely accept you're not racist, and I can accept the fine distinction you use about your rant. But I must say, when I saw your rant, I thought, this is bad, Tommy, this is really bad, and indeed I tried to message you and told you it was, and I think no matter what, you're absolutely right technically. You were the British, meaning technically it could mean everybody, all British, black, white, or yellow, or whatever. But I can certainly understand why Sarah has interpreted it that way. And I think, if I'm honest, I think I know you've said it was wrong and so on, but a sort of rather more fulsome apology for it would go down quite well. It has done you a lot of damage.
No, I'm aware.
That, and I think you know that, not just in the black community, but in the white community as well. Yeah. Amongst a lot of my friends, they're all pointing at this. Oh, this bloke's your friend, is he? So I think that. I think to Sarah, or perhaps to both of you actually, I'd like to ask the question. A couple of things. I was quite intrigued that Sarah didn't seem fully aware that somebody climbed up on the cenotaph and burnt the Union Jack. There'll be hundreds of thousands of families up and down this country to whom the cenotaph is really, really important because they've lost fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers in wars, and that is the representation of that. That's a sacred place in our nation, and on it there was our flag. And up it climbed a black woman and tried to burn the flag. And the thing that would annoy many British people, this Holy of Holies there, which is really important, is the police appeared to do nothing about it. But however, the police, when some lout who was drunk went and weed alongside P.C. Fletcher's memorial stone outside Parliament, he was arrested by the authorities, dragged through the courts, and went to jail. Now, I think what is missing here, and this is where we're going around to my question, none of you have talked here, you've talked about the black community and the white community. I think there's a huge area of the white community who also feel disempowered, who feel outside the powerful circles. And by the powerful circles, I mean the politician, the BBC, Whitehall, and so on. And the powerful circles, predominantly white, have taken on board Black Lives Matter, and have taken it on board so that actually the white people are not allowed to say, I'm sure you wouldn't agree with this, but if you say the words white people, white lives matter as well, that is immediately seen as racist. You're accused of being racist by saying that. I've been accused of it. When I said at one stage, I want to say, well, white lives matter too, because of the power of the words Black Lives Matter, you are not allowed by the powerful people, by that I mean the BBC, the media and so on, to say white lives matter, because it is seen, they have decided, for various reasons, that's a racist statement. Hence, some bloke gets up in an aircraft and flies over Burnley Football Club, or the football match, and says white lives matter. He is barred from the football club, he loses his job, his partner loses her job, and he's despised and discouraged by the media and the political class throughout, the predominantly white political class throughout. What I think is missing, and this is my question to you, is there is large areas of our society, predominantly white areas, traditional white areas, which also feel marginalised, which also feel discriminated against, which also feel that their lives don't matter, because the powerful people, the directors of the Premiership football, and the BBC, and the politicians, and the civil servants the rest, have decided that those white people, predominantly white working class, people don't matter at all. And I think this dimension of looking at the class system in the UK is really important to throw light on it, because you won't really understand, as a black person, why it's really important. There are a lot of white people out there saying, excuse me, I'm here, you've ignored me for so long, I may live outside the gilded circles of metropolitan London, okay, but I'm here, I live in Burnley, you've ignored me. Have you left me unemployed? You've got brought in massive immigration, so I lose my job, and so on and so forth. There's this huge area. My guess is Tommy would probably say he identifies that working class area. But I think, but there is that. Our country, and I'll sit down now, our country is 85% white, and a huge amount of that is a silent majority. I don't believe they're actually racist at all. They're normally quite fair-minded and they'll get along with most people, but they feel that the powerful people are ignoring them, are marginalising them, are actually hostile to them. They're known as the left behinds, okay? And I think there is a real dimension in here that actually would bring sides together against powerful people rather than separate them. That'd be my comment.
Tommy?
This is the point I've been making in the sense that I believe there's a large proportion of the country that I speak to and relate to. I don't claim to speak to it for every single white person, but I'm saying a lot of them are getting angry because they don't feel like they do matter. That's genuine. They genuinely do not feel. If we talk about academic achievements, the larger proportion of black people now go to university than white people. The biggest academic failures in this country are white working class children. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason for that, because they haven't mattered. Whether our daughters haven't mattered, whether education hasn't mattered, everything has been geared, I'd say, and white people would feel, for minorities and for everyone else. And they've just been neglected, totally neglected. So, and I think that this angle, when you talk about White Lives Matter, I never stood by White Lives Matter. I think the slogan should always have been All Lives Matter. Any counter slogan should have been All Lives Matter. But you're right, the young lad who done the White Lives Matter above Burnley Football Club, by half time in that football stadium, the captain was coming out telling that young kid from a council estate in Burnley about his white privilege. The captain who's a multi-millionaire, who can't really probably, I don't know. So, and again, I went to Burnley. I went to Burnley after that, and I spoke to people on the street. 100% of people agree with the kid. This is the White Lives Matter above the football stadium. There was 100% support for what he had done. And it's not from a racist angle, just people saying, well, we don't matter.
I would like to know what white marginalisation looks like.
Well, it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like your daughter's being systematically taken, raped, groomed, passed around and murdered without a bat and an eye by anybody.
Again.
With the support of politicians.
Tommy, that's got nothing to do with black people.
No, you asked me what white marginalisation looks like.
What I'm trying to say is, when people say Black Lives Matter, we're not saying that our lives matter more than anybody else's. That's not what is being said.
You're not saying that?
No, that's not what is being said in general. Then it's not being said that Black lives matter more than everybody else. It's just saying Black lives also matter, because we can see that by the actions that are being taken towards black people, it seems like their lives don't matter.
But as I've told you, by the statistics and numbers, that's not backed up in any evidence. That's not backed up by the police statistics on deaths in custody. It's not backed up by police unarmed shootings. It's not backed up by racial attacks from one community to another. The figures and numbers simply do not support it. They do not support it.
When you live in a white majority society,
okay, well,
right.
I don't know about living in a white majority because I'm from Luton Town, and the whole time I've been in Luton Town, white English.
We're talking about the UK, Tommy, not your town.
But white English are a minority. So I've grown up as a white English minority in my town.
And how did that feel for you?
Fine.
Did you feel oppressed? Did you feel marginalised?
No. Felt like there was a two-tier policing system, but not with blacks, because I felt that the system was elevated for the Islamic community over the black and the white community.
Do you know what I heard from the gentleman there, for me? I heard that someone who has more of a problem with the elite, more so than anyone else. That's what I heard from him.
Yeah, I have a problem with the elite.
So what happens is that you were saying that white people feel marginalised, right? And you're talking about, white working class children being, the ones that are failing at school. That's got nothing to do with that.
I'm not saying it is. That's
something you need to take up with the politicians.
Yeah.
But
what I'm saying is, do you understand why there's a proportion of the country that are white that are sitting there thinking, but we don't matter? And generally, everything that's happened since Black Lives...
because most things are geared towards white people in this country.
You think?
Yes.
Growing up in Luton Town, I've never seen that.
Okay, so like I said, I talk about...
I bet the children in Rotherham, Rochdale, Oxford, every single town and city across this country, I bet one of them...
Socioeconomically, if you look at the ladder of socioeconomics, you'll find black people at the bottom of the ladder.
Black community, 40% of the black community go to university, 30% of the white community.
Okay, what's that?
It means more black people getting educated, more black. Again,
But it's
my
a majority
research,
white country, though.
I know, but that doesn't matter. Proportionally, more black people going to university from the
So
background.
then we have to now look at the reasons for that, though.
I believe the reasons for it are because I believe that the white working class, again, I'm on about class here because...
Who's marginalising them? Other
The
white
government.
people? Other white people?
Oh yeah, totally, the elite.
Okay, well then your problem's not with us.
I'm not saying, no, none of my, I've never had a problem at all with anything to do with the black community or any members of the black community.
It sounded
No,
like
I'm just saying, do you understand why members of the white community are sitting there feeling like we don't matter here?
Yeah, so talk to the people who can change that.
I've been battling the establishment for 10 years. This all comes down to the same problem that I've spoke about for 10 years. The fact that we are marginalised, we don't matter. The fact that they give preference. This isn't me sitting here and any of the points I'm about.
They give preference to who?
Well, we'll get me back.
This is what we're here for.
We'll get me back onto my original issue. Why didn't they deal with the rape? Again, just think of it. We're in Brixton, yeah. Brixton's a majority black population. Anyone who's here from Brixton,
it's getting gentrified quite easily now and quite quickly.
Is it?
It's getting gentrified quite quickly and quite easily right now.
Is it LGBT new town? Is it? But so if we look at it, say like everyone in this community, pick 1,400 young black girls that are kidnapped, taken, some of them murdered, yeah, tortured. Whilst they're raping them, they're calling them the N-word, they're calling them the racial slurs for 30 years, yeah. And whilst this is going on, the police and the authorities and everyone let it happen. They didn't do nothing about it. And then when it comes out why this happened, and why this was allowed to happen, it was because they didn't want to cause racial tensions. Because when I'm talking about the anger that's within. That is exactly so. If you're looking at these issues, I know we're looking at George Floyd in one country, but many people are sitting thinking, but we've seen this in every town and city. We've seen racism that's resulted in murder and rape and torture in every single town and city in the UK. Again, nothing to do with the black community, because black children have been victims of these gangs, yeah?
I know this.
Nothing to do. I'm just giving the comparison as to there's a lot of white people out there that feel like they don't matter. Okay. And in fact, they don't feel like they don't matter. They've been proven they don't matter. And sort of that alienation or that I'd say that resentment is currently what would be fueling a bit of a backlash against the BLM organisation and everything being aimed about the black community.
All right. Next question.
Basically, about he said that you called in the video, the rant video, the football lads to come down. Now, I was in conversation with the protest that we was going to do to save the statues days before the rant come out.
So there was already a protest organised by Chelsea, Millwall, West Ham. Before I went on my rant, yeah? Those football hooligans were already coming to London. That was before I went on my rant.
That was before that. So we was already going to go there. So Tommy didn't incite people to go there because we was already going to go there.
When you say we, who are we? Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah, when you say we was going to go there, just black people
British
in general.
People.
Right, okay.
Black, white, whoever's
Right.
British.
Footballers.
Are you part of FLA?
I'm not, no, I've got no
okay.
connection with
Okay.
I'm just myself.
Right,
so,
okay. No, I'm just trying to figure it out.
Right, so it wasn't because, the rant wasn't because of, the people weren't coming down because of the rant, basically. But do you think that when you put your video out afterwards about what happened, you're actually throwing fire on the rant afterwards, so more people will look at it and then say, oh, because Sarah says, could it be racial? Could it be because of this? Because, you know? But do you think you're throwing fire onto something that's
onto me?
Like I said, right? Black people are reactionary people.
Yeah.
They're not a pro-actionary people. Had I not seen that, there would have been no video. I reacted to that video.
You realise that I reacted to burning the wall, burning the flag, smashing up the cenotaph.
Yeah, but the way in which you reacted.
Yeah, but you do understand that was reactionary, totally reactionary.
Yeah, I understand, but the way you...
Have you seen the images of them burning the flag?
I haven't, I'm not going to lie to you.
You need to see it, because she gets up in front of everyone cheering, and in fact, then the other images, I put it into my hour-long video, fuck the Union Jack, fuck the Union Jack. The other images of a black hand punching a white face on a big banner that they're holding up. All of these things played a part in why I went on that rant. I know people just saw the rant, but you don't see what I'm watching before that. Did you see the image of the young boy getting booted everywhere, the young white boy, 17 years old, while they're booting him, talking about 400 years of slavery. Or the other boy, they lift up his top and they start, I put it all into my video, they start juking him in the back, little white lads, and they're all screaming at him and jumping all over him. All of these things, my head did explode, and I accept it exploded. But all of these things I see as a problem of race-bait politics. And I see as getting, the far left can't win an election through votes. They cannot do it, okay? So what's next? Bring down the system. How do they bring down the system? Well, those little scruffy middle class wimps from Antifa can't bring down the system. So who are they going to use? The black community. The black, disenfranchised, angry youth. We'll wind them up about historical abuses. We'll flood all these false headlines, flood all this false narrative, which, look, if you go through BLM, hands up, don't shoot, lie. The original shooting that they said was by a white supremacist, lie. The police officer who shot him was Hispanic. There's lie after lie after lie. This organisation lies. And the purpose of it, to get young, angry black men out on the streets to riot and do what they can't do. And that's what I see happening. And my rant was as much as, not just because I'm angry in that, I'm angry about the black community being used. I'm angry about it. Sorry, I interrupted you.
And also, with actual Black Lives Matter now, you said earlier on, and I'm so glad that Tommy didn't answer it, because I feel you was guiding him down a little path when you said about nationalists, okay? I am a black British nationalist. I'm proud of my country. So would you now say, because now you know that I'm one of the people who went to support the statues because it's my country. In the rant, I saw nothing wrong because he said our statues, our this. Believing for me, when I've seen it, it means ours as British, no matter where you were.
No matter what colour.
No matter what colour, what sexual orientation, whatever. You're British, they're going to destroy something, a bit like what IS did when they went to take over the Arab lands. They took down the statues. So that's the first bit. So when I heard that, I had a totally different reaction. But I'm a black British nationalist. But would you say that my life doesn't matter so much now?
What do you mean? No, of course your life matters. What do you mean?
What do you mean? Because
do I think that your life doesn't matter so much?
Yeah, because now I'm a black British. You said about nationalism. Try and cap that line of saying you're a white nationalist, you're a black nationalist. You know?
Yeah, but I don't wish to do anything to people's lives.
So
like, your life matters, bro.
Black Lives Matter, as the organisation, wouldn't support me for that reason.
Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
Wouldn't support you?
Yeah.
Because you are
because
black
I'm
British?
proud black British.
Well, I'm not Black Lives Matter, bro.
Well,
so.
would you say, because you're a black nationalist as well, that's what I'm saying, you're a black nationalist, but you don't
that's
see
got nothing to do with
England
Black Lives Matter.
Keep it to the questions, and then
All right.
otherwise it becomes circular.
Right.
You made your point, so...
All right, cool. Next question.
I did 10 years as a military soldier, and what I saw they did to the monuments and stuff, yeah, it was really bad, and I didn't like what I saw neither. But I look at that and I think I can distinguish whether they're just idiots. Am I going to tie them to the brush with everybody that was marching that day? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And I feel like what you said was having a pop at everybody, and it was going to cause friction. And that's what I felt when I listened to what you said. And I personally think that what I've been through and what I've experienced as a soldier, I just don't get why you would have said what you said, to be honest with you.
Do we distinguish that difference with other organisations? If the English Defence League rioted and smashed up, say, a mosque or something like that, would we distinguish and say, but, well, hold on a minute, the majority of them were sound. The majority of them were there doing something else.
But on that day, there was thousands of people.
I'm aware, but the thousands of people, and again, my problem with it was, I can't believe there's thousands of people marching under that banner, knowing what that banner is.
But we've already distinguished today.
That they didn't know what the banner was? But that's pretty, I find that pretty ridiculous, that people are getting behind a cause without understanding.
I think, as I know, and most of the people probably in this room know why black people were marching on that day.
Yeah.
We all know what the real reasons were. Do you know? I've spoken to black people.
What were the real reasons?
It's
in London?
It's being treated the same as a white person.
Okay, so do you think from that demonstration that day, because I'll show you the videos, a black hand punching a white face on a banner
But is that all you was looking at? Was you not looking
I
at
looked
the
through.
bigger picture?
I looked through the. I
Everyone else
looked
is
through the demonstration. I saw fuck the Union Jack, fuck the Union Jack. I saw racism, which was that. I saw another black girl when she walked past a police officer and a police officer said all lives matter. She said, fuck you, no they don't. I watched multiple things and I know that organisation. So I know who's pushing it, I know what's driving it, I know the purpose of it, and I saw it as being very successful within 2 weeks in our country. So you're right, because many of my friends have got this angry because they got behind the sentiment Black Lives Matter. To set the record straight, I totally believe Black Lives Matter. Yeah, totally. Again, if it was a march for equality, that wasn't a march for equality. That was organised, orchestrated. If you look at the slogans that were sprayed on the war memorials, they were anarchist slogans. The infiltration, or I've seen the word infiltration of this movement, but it's not an infiltration of this movement. I've seen the BBC come out recently saying, oh, the organisation's been infiltrated. It was formed 9 years ago by trained Marxists. It's had this purpose from day dot. It's had this reasoning from day dot. This has not been infiltrated or hijacked. This is what the movement is. It's like taking the KKK in America and then the KKK coming here and saying, yeah, but they're supporting certain white things. And some white person has been murdered, so we're marching under the banner KKK. It's like, no, the banner KKK means a lot more. Well, Black Lives Matter, once you do your research, executed 11 police officers in 1 year. Yeah? Black man murdered 5 of them and said his purpose for doing so was because they was white police officers. If you look at what that organisation has done, what's the definition of terrorism? The latest leader, the leader in this country, Gary McFarlane, who was put on the radio as the leader of Black Lives Matter, when he was asked that question,
Tommy,
are you proud?
Like I said, you know about the 2006 police report, right?
My problem is that's not a banner that anyone should be marching under. And in fact,
what is the definition of terrorism?
Formula One this week showed that.
I'm not condoning, right, the murder of police officers, but I'm saying, like I said, it's reactionary. If we already know this is what has been going on for decades amongst black people, listen, when people are aggrieved, Tommy, they're going to push back. Okay. And I'm not condoning the violence, but that's actually what's going to happen. But
a fact is that you're 18.5 times more likely to be shot as a police officer by a black man than you are as a black man by a police officer. 18.5 times more likely. That's a fact. I don't like the police. I don't like the police in this country. I generally don't like the establishment. What I'm saying is it has to be based on truths. If people are getting angry that they're willing to go tear down things and riot and kill and murder and shoot people and kill people, it can't be based on false narratives. It can't.
I don't think you understand, but okay.
Hello. Right. You might think this is very odd, but I want people to think about, or anybody has thought about, what is the relationship between Black Lives Matter, COVID-19, and climate change? And they're all the same thing, actually. Now, I've just spent the morning in Westminster at the Magistrates' Court with Piers Corbyn, and on Sunday, 7 of us were all given tickets, and 19 people were arrested in Hyde Park, including a friend of mine and Piers. And they were arrested for protesting at the same time as Black Lives Matter and one of them was black. One of the ones with me was black. But basically, we were protesting against the lockdown. Now, if you go to Agenda 21 in the UN, which was in 1995, it's very clear what they want. And these are run by, it doesn't matter, I don't care what race they are, okay? One of them's a Canadian called Strong. He said, I can't win in the electoral box, but if I get in the UN, especially with climate, I can destroy the industrial base of the West, and the West industrial base must be destroyed. And I believe that the restrictions, and so does Piers Corbyn, on COVID-19 are identical. Because we know what's happening. We've got the Democratic election coming up, the election in the US, and they want to destroy Trump. And to destroy Trump, you destroy the industrial base. And to destroy white man, you destroy the industrial base. Now, your lives and every single person's life in this room are going to be massively affected. I mean, the reason why climate change is the best way to destroy the industrial production of the West as well is exactly the same thing. And you know, if you put 375 billion into climate change research to get one answer, you get one answer. But my real thing, I know I'm giving a speech rather than answering a question, but I want people to think about it, because actually this is a fight about white on white. And the war that's going to happen in this country is going to be white on white. And you guys and the Muslims will be just spectators in this thing. Because this is about Antifa, and this is about the real far left who want to destroy Britain and America and the entire Western world against the conservatives. And that includes destroying the family, destroying everything. And that's what happened. I mean, that's what I believe is happening. And that's why COVID-19 and climate change. I'll just give you one little fact about climate change. Oh yeah, but I mean, do you believe that? Because that's what I believe. That you're just participants on the side of this.
You see, we're pawns in a game, basically.
Sorry?
Is that you're saying like we're pawns in the game?
Yeah, of course you're pawns. Soros doesn't care one little bit. He wants to destroy people who and there was somebody asked about the money. I mean, the money. Why are these guys? Why is Amazon supporting this stuff? Why are they supporting it? Well, or whoever, McDonald's, Starbucks. Well, I'm asking you, the question is, do you think that COVID-19, climate change and Black Lives Matter are all the same thing? That's my question.
I think there's a possibility for anything nowadays. So I would not discount what you said. I would have to definitely do more research into it. That's my answer.
For me, in your rant, you should have targeted George Soros directly. And I think you kind of knew what you was doing. You might say different. As my brother before said, 90% of the people that were marching for this statement. So I basically want to ask two questions that try and make you understand the actual statement. Would you agree that by default, white lives matter, as people who look like you created and perpetuate the actual race ranking system or categories, whatever you want to call it, for which the black life was placed at the bottom of?
I'll say again.
So would you agree that by default, white lives matter? Because the gentleman here said, oh, if I say white lives matter...
would you agree that I'm saying that white lives matter because the people who built the British system, which put black people at the bottom, were white?
No, I'm saying, would you agree that by default, your life matters, yeah? Anyway, regardless, because the race system and categories were created by people that look like you. So there would be no such thing as race if a white person didn't create it. It was created by white people. The rankings, the system, whatever you want to call it. And they specifically placed black people at the bottom. So by default...
Historically on that, because so is this getting on? So what privilege do I have as a white man from this white system?
What
colour of my skin. So when my mother come here, there was no blacks, when my mum come here, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. My family went through the same discrimination that many people have gone through in this country. Just explain to me how I benefit.
Okay, but regardless of where you are in that ranking, no matter what you are, you're still ranked above bottom. And black
ranked by who? Ranked by who?
By the system that was created by people like you. So race is a thing that was created. Yes or no?
You like race and class as well?
What do you mean?
Is that race? Race is it?
Someone just didn't go.
The classification of races was created. The classification of races, blacks, whites, the caste system was created.
So basically,
not by black people, but by white people, is what I think the brother's trying to say.
And regardless of the percentages that you brought up and the statistics that you brought up as a white person and the struggles that you go through, your actual life, and that's why I'm saying Black Lives Matter, we mostly march for that, will always be held in a higher regard than a black person. Full stop.
How is that a fact? But
that is a fact. That is a fact. Because if that's not a fact, then your percentages that you're pulling up can't be fact, because we know that black people are at the bottom. If you was to
black person, you know that. As a white person, you don't know that. Because you live within your environment, illusion.
So growing up in just so I understand. So me growing up in Luton Town, yeah, where everyone is the sons of immigrants.
Yeah.
I mean all of us.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah. Explain to me how my life was worth more than my best mates at school.
So we could have grew up in the same area.
Yep.
Gone through the same things,
yep.
But because of a system that was created by people like you, whether you know them, whatever it is, because of your skin color, you will always be put on a higher pedestal than myself.
No, I just
agree. No?
No, I can't accept. No, in fact, no, I can't accept it, bro.
Historically, Tommy, historically.
Oh, historically.
Historically, have white lives mattered more than black lives? Historically.
Yes.
Right. do you think there's any hangover from that historical fact in this society right now?
Again, I can only bring it back to growing up in Luton Town. Yeah? No, I don't.
Right. So
everyone has been in that town.
Would you not agree that by default, your life matters more than mine, because the people that make the decisions that are in the places of power look like you and not me?
And has that held you back?
Yes.
That's not what he's asking.
How has that held you back?
That's not what he's asking, Tommy.
You're asking a question.
That's not what he's asking.
With a question. Answer the question.
Yeah, go on, ask me the question.
By default, the people that created a system, or the people that are in positions of power in this country, whatever country you want to go to, look like you. So regardless of whether we had the same upbringing, you got bullied, I got bullied.
So because this country, because people who previously, before my time, who were white.
No, even now, I'm saying, me and you, like if we're the same age and we had the same upbringing, I grew up in Luton. Yeah. When someone's popping around, will you be held in a higher regard than me because of the people in positions of power look like you?
Oh, I don't believe I would, no. Yeah, I think what you're talking about is classism, yeah? You're bringing it down to race. That comes down to class. That comes down to class. What you're talking about is class.
Firstly, I'd just like to compliment Sarah and Big Bro on a really well-run event.
Thank you.
I found myself nodding along to points made by Tommy and nodding along to points made by Sarah through the conversation. So Big Bro was very clear. He did want us to ask questions and not make speeches. So I'm going to ask 3 questions.
Oh, gosh.
And then I'd like you to bounce around with those questions.
Okay.
So first question goes off something that Alan said, which is that there's clear evidence that there are white working class communities that are struggling and marginalised. And it is also, I think, a fact that huge swathes of the black community also feel marginalised and discriminated against and forgotten. Are we therefore not actually talking, rather than a race issue, are we actually not talking about a class issue? So that's my first question. Second question, this one's more aimed at Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that white people today have some kind of guilt because of the crimes that were committed by white people in the past towards black people?
Okay.
So that's a question for you, specifically for you. And then the last
I'll try
question,
and answer them one after the other.
Yeah, and then the last question to both of you is, let us just assume, so that you don't have to state it, that the church has failed to come out into this topic in any meaningful or significant way. What is it that both of you would like to see the church coming out and saying and doing with regards to the topics you've talked about?
So first question is...
So the first question is, because there are examples of white working class communities also being marginalised, just like the common experience of many black people, are we not actually talking about a class issue rather than a race issue?
I personally believe that race and class are intertwined. Just like my brother over there said, the people that made the class and the race categorization did not look like me. They looked like you.
They didn't talk like me.
Didn't matter whether they spoke like you. I'm just saying they didn't look like.
But what I mean is, if what your man said was true, then 1,400 children in Rotherham would not have been raped because they were white, and the system would have protected them.
All right, so if we go to...
they're white.
You get the question. You got the question. You did understand the question. Okay, Tommy.
Well, you're saying... Yeah, I'm saying that thing. So what you're saying is it because I'd have a preference because the people who have created the legal system and every system are white, so they'd prefer me? Is that basically the point? Yeah, but if that's the case, why did they not prefer all of the young white girls?
There's only a certain amount of you can sit at the top table.
It's class. Yeah, but that's class. They despise me.
It's class only, but for us it's class and race.
Okay, but that doesn't benefit. Yeah, but you think the elite care about me more than they care about you?
No,
What's that? I'm collateral damage. Yeah,
white people from Rotherham.
Yeah. But I'm not benefit. But what my point is, which I've took from your question, is that somehow I'm going to be treated better and benefit better. They don't give a shit about me if they don't give a shit about you. That doesn't care. They don't care if I'm black or white. They don't care if the victim of a rape is black, white, or Asian. They don't give a shit. They care for the globe. They care for the global. If there was a what?
Guys.
Well, you believe that of me? You believe that of me?
Guys.
You believe that of me?
Guys.
All right. So to answer your question,
Pull Tommy Robinson out, yeah?
Guys.
Hang on.
Firstly, I hear your answer. You think it is a race.
I think race and class are intertwined.
You think it's a class issue?
I think it's a class issue. That's not to say that I don't believe the elite aren't racist. That's not to say that. Right. What I'm saying is I don't believe
you just don't believe you're one.
I'm not the fucking elite, bruv.
No, you're a racist.
I'm not a racist, mate. I actually got quite... listen.
My second question was aimed particularly at Sarah. Do you believe that white people today have some kind of guilt connected to the fact that our ancestors committed crimes to black people in the past?
I believe some white people do have guilt. But what I found with white guilt in my own experience is that it tends to raise its ugly head in narcissism. And when I say that, a lot of the times I was watching a video of a bunch of white people in America chain themselves, right, and wear t-shirts, say I'm sorry, while walking down the street looking really solemn. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, we don't want to put you in chains again. Like, if you feel guilty about that, that's cool, but we don't want to put you in chains again. But it's narcissistic because they're now making it about themselves again.
Are we culpable though?
Should we feel guilty?
Are white people today culpable for the crimes of our ancestors?
What happens with white people today is that you benefit, your nations benefit from. Myself and Big Bro done a talk, and we spoke about Barclays Bank. Okay, we spoke about the Tate Gallery. We spoke about all these institutions that built the finance of these nations through slavery. So what your nation has done is you have benefited from, and you currently benefit from the takings and the spoils of slavery.
But do you benefit?
I currently benefit in this country.
Okay.
I currently benefit
so should you feel
from
guilty?
slave. I don't feel guilty.
But should you feel? Should I feel guilty?
It's up to, I shouldn't. I'm not telling you to feel guilty or not.
Do you think I should feel guilty?
No, I feel. I tell you what I feel like. I feel like this is what I feel like. If you apologize for something, if you apologize for something, or if you're sorry about something, I really do believe that apology is not enough. I don't believe.
Do you think I've got anything to apologise for to do with slavery?
Hang on, I'm not finished. So, an apology is not just words. An apology is also action, right? So,
what you say, reparations? Is that what
so when people say, "Oh, do you know what? I never owned a slave. You know, it wasn't me. Nothing to do with me." I'm like, okay, cool. But the benefits the benefits that you have from your nation, taken from all of these people.
Same benefits you have.
Yeah. However, I also live in a country where socio-economically, right, it's a double-edged sword, because socio-economically, people that look like me are at the bottom of the socio-economic ladder. So while I may benefit, people that look like me. What reason
do you believe that is?
Sorry, just before you start interviewing one another again, can I get an answer to my third question? So my third question, and this, if you take it in turns to answer, please, is so that you don't have to stay it. Let's just say that the church has flopped on this issue, like it flops on so many other issues. What do you want the church to be doing and saying with regards to the topics that you've talked about? And thank you again, both of you, for your time.
I despise the church, so I think it's the most weak, pathetic, cowardly leadership I've ever seen. I think they're weak on it.
Tell them how you really feel.
No, I think they're weak on I think the church is weak on every issue, and it's been weak on every issue, and it's been a total sellout to its.
So what would you like the church?
What I'd like them to do?
Yeah, because that's the question. I've already said that the church has flopped. The question is, what do you want the church to be saying?
I don't know if I necessarily want the church to do anything. I don't look to the church and say, oh my God, what's the church going to say? I don't, personally,
I'm disappointed the Nigerian pastor's gone, because I think the black church, I was hoping the black church would have a pivotal role in what's about to happen. I generally, truthfully, believe this country's heading to massive conflict. And I never thought it was. I never saw race problems. I've said for years, yeah, we're going to head into this big Islam, not Muslims and non-Muslims clash, where I always saw black people by our side. What I've witnessed in the last 4-6 weeks, the level of funding behind that organisation, the purpose of the organisation and what it's going to do in the United States before the election in 2020, I was hoping the black church would play a pivotal role in preventing.
I mean, the church though.
In preventing and separating black community from an anarchist, Marxist, mass destructive movement.
But the church essentially in these days and times is a monetarily led organisation. Do you know what I mean? Like you can have your faith in whatever you want, but the actual institution it's about money. So I would think that if the church aren't benefiting financially from this, they're probably not going to get involved.
I just think, as I've said, I think so. Like yourself, Sarah, like anyone who's willing to speak up, there's a massive place for someone to separate the black community from the Marxist destruction, and it needs to happen. And truthfully, I know some people, you may sit here and people don't like me, they may not like me. I generally don't want to see clashes, and I generally gauge the moment where we're heading, and I played my own part in that, which I've held my hands up to, and I would put my hand out to anyone who wants to take it to help them or to try and prevent clashes. Or I believe we are pawns. Who else said that question? I believe we're total pawns. I believe I've walked into it as a pawn, and I believe that those clashes they want to bring on the streets of this country, and I think that they're coming. And I think there's a massive and there's a lot of work to be done to prevent them. And that doesn't mean everyone's going to agree on every single issue, because most people are going to disagree.
Do you think this is helping?
Totally. This is the most needed conversation to have. And I think that Big Bro setting this up and yourself setting this up, this should be question time setting it up. This debate should be had on national TV so that people can understand the difference and the separation of what this organisation is going to do and bring up. The problem you've got is that so many people have researched this organisation. So many people now understand it. So people understand it. So when they see masses getting behind it, it's just... Look, I think that I saw what Carl Henry put, that there's a massive void now for an organisation to be filled that's non-racist, that's non-this, that's non-that, but that's promoting...
It's funny you talk about question time. So I was speaking to people. Sorry to just cut. We'll get to another question next. The Black Opinion is the talk show. The Black Opinion is the talk show. Again, the Black Opinion is the talk show. We are not Channel 4. We're not Sky News. We're not BBC News. We're not Channel 4.
I just hope it gets the viewers, which I think it will, until the elite flag it because I'm on it and put all these warnings, and you can't share it or comment on it, and it gets banned from every bloody social media.
No, but
and if you share it on Facebook, it gets deleted.
But we want to, our clan, right? Me and my organisation, we want to change the narrative for ourselves of what black people are seen as. Generally, okay, I think intelligent black conversation is needed, and we all do. We think intelligent black conversation is needed. We don't necessarily need a question time because there are now platforms for us to do this ourselves.
Well, so I think the mainstream public that's not black needs to be involved in watching and listening to these debates.
100%. Next question.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I'm really glad that this has happened. It's been a long time overdue. I've got 3 simple questions. First one would be, can black people be racist? Question number 2, collectivism or individualism? And my final question, specifically to you, Sarah. I watched with intent your video with Big Bro. Very interesting. A lot that I agreed with. Some parts I didn't, naturally. In that you talked about Wakanda 2.0.
Wakanda 2.0, yeah.
Which is specifically about the statues.
Yes.
Yes. You mentioned a few names of statues that you'd erect in Wakanda 2.0. Idi Amin was one of them.
Idi Amin, yeah.
Robert Mugabe was another one.
Robert Mugabe, yeah.
I couldn't quite remember the third one.
Thomas Sankara?
Yes.
Was it Thomas Sankara? Yeah.
Yes, I think it was. So my question is specifically on perhaps Idi Amin and Robert Mugabe. Given the fact that they murdered a lot of their own black people, did their Black Lives Matter?
Clearly not to them. Clearly not to them. So what was your first question?
Can black people be racist?
Can black people be racist? I would say this: if black people can be racist, they're really bad at it. If they can be racist, because with racism, I think all black people can be race prejudiced. I think all people can be race prejudiced. Okay, they can not like a certain race of people based on the color of their skin. Racism, for me, is you have to add power to the base, because I can say to you, I don't like you because you're white, right? I have not adversely affected your life. Nothing's changed with me saying that to you. However, if I have the power to adversely affect the life and the life of all the white people in here, it becomes different. So if I say, actually, I don't like their color of their skin, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to marginalize them and I'm going to enslave them. I'm going to take their children and I'm going to do, then the act of race prejudice becomes what I would see as racism. And I believe everyone can be race prejudiced. But if black people can be race prejudiced, they're really bad at it, because, you know, I would say black people's racism is reactionary. It's reactionary. When black people do something to white people, it's not because black people woke up one day and said, actually, we don't like them just because they're white. Black people wake up, and if they don't like white people or whoever, it's because of an event. It's because of something that happened. It's not, they didn't just wake up with hate in their heart. Do you understand what I mean? So I'm not saying that black people cannot be race prejudiced. I'm just saying if black people are racists, they're not very good at it.
Okay, the other part was collectivist or individualist. Which one are you for or against?
In what sense?
Well, collectivism per se. So let's just look in the realms of Karl Marx, for example. It's the age-old argument, isn't it? Collectivism versus individualism.
To move forward, you've got to move forward as a collective, though, generally.
Well, I think it's about individual responsibility as well. So I think this is where the collectivist ideology overrides the individual, in as much as the individual, the empowerment of the individual is taken away. And I mean by personal responsibility, making the right decision.
Can't you find a happy medium in between those?
Don't get me wrong, I believe that there is. But when we're talking about the power dynamics and we're talking about...
But you said this one or that one.
Well, this is the point that I'm coming to, because if we're going to think about erecting statues for the likes of Idi Amin, or if we're going to raise statues for the likes of Robert Mugabe, we're talking
What's wrong with Robert Mugabe?
Sorry?
What's wrong with Robert Mugabe?
He was a Marxist, and he killed his own people, en masse.
Okay.
So I'm just saying there's
his own people. But you see that statement, right?
Yes.
His own people.
Black people.
Right. Okay. But if white people kill white people, is that their own people, or is there a nuance within there where, as a reason why they killed them, is because they weren't thinking the same as them? I think there's a nuance. So white people kill white people all the time.
Did he kill his own countrymen?
Right. Yeah. But
so his own people.
Hang on. No. Hang on. All right, so I've got my own people, right? The people that I class as my own people. I can have, wait, let me go somewhere. I can have family members, they're my own people, right? My family is my own people. But if my family are plotting to kill me, are they now my own people? They're not my people, they're someone else's. But because my people wouldn't plot to kill me. So when you see people try to quote unquote kill their own people, we have to understand the nuance. There may be a nuance within there where even though they look like them, psychologically there was a difference.
So because they weren't Marxists, he killed them?
And whatever the reason was. So
I don't know.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is people find their different reasons to kill people. I don't want to kill anyone, by the way. I'm just saying. But
I'm just a bit confused in the fact that you've elevated those.
I believe what Robert Mugabe did.
Individuals.
I believe what
you've talked in the generalised sense.
Yeah.
That black people, your people, which you're fully entitled to do. Right. But that means all black people, or is it only a specific type of black people that you want to support?
So I deal with people who are black who have the same psychology and the same political view as me. Okay, I want what's best for all black people generally, but I understand that not all black people are going to think like me. Just like with you have Labour, Conservative, Liberal Democrat, but I'm sure the country the nation, to do good, right? So I understand that not all black people are going to agree all of the time. So I know even though I want the best for all black people, I understand that not all black people necessarily want the best for me. Do you know what I mean? So I have to understand that too.
Sure.
No problem.
Okay.